Hey, so I'm James Brady, and today I will be giving a leadership profile of Alan Mulally on behalf of my Management 2010 course. So, who is Alan Mulally? Alan Mulally was a graduate of the University of Kansas, where he got a BS and MS in aeronautical and astronautical engineering. And upon graduation, he began his career as an aerospace engineer at Boeing, where he eventually rose to the title of president of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, which is a business unit within the Boeing company. In 2006, Bill Ford hired him on to become the new president and CEO of Ford Motor Company. And in 2014, he retired from Ford Motor Company and shortly thereafter joined the board of directors at Google. So why did I choose Alan Mulally? Uh, first of all, I do have a personal interest in the automotive industry, and having worked in the automotive industry, I understand what it is like, and it is a little more relatable for me. Um, but more importantly, Alan Mulally is often credited as the individual who saved Ford Motor Company, because when he took over in 2006, Ford was getting ready to post its largest loss in its history, which was well over $10 billion. And during his tenure at Ford, Ford had an annual profit from 2009 up until he retired, which just speaks leaps and bounds of his success there. So some leadership traits and styles of Alan Mulally. So one that he is very adamant on is positive leadership and service. And for him, this just means reinforcing in his employees that there's always a way forward and that everyone plays a role in getting there. It's not just him, and it's not just the managers beneath him. Everyone, even down to the floor workers, plays a role in moving forward. And establishing this consistency of purpose within that organization, um, it allows people to want to succeed and help each other, and this just further allows the company to identify problems and tackle those problems in a much shorter time span. So another leadership trait and style of his is utilizing evidence-based management skills, and some examples of this would just be when he reduced the number of brands under Ford's footprint, because when he took over, Ford had a stake in Mazda, Land Rover, Aston Martin, and so he sold those stakes off to reduce Ford's footprint and really centralize Ford and narrow Ford's focus. Ford's business units and brands were oftentimes competing and fighting with each other. There wasn't a lot of cohesion within the company, and if you don't have cohesion, then growth won't follow. Uh, and like I said earlier, he reduced Ford's focus to a smaller brand of vehicles, and he globally integrated Ford systems and services such that everyone felt like they were on a team, and it was a small team. Another one that he lives and dies by is advocating and practicing management by objectives, and he did this. Uh, some examples of him practicing this would be he had weekly meetings where they went over their business plan review, and he met with top managers and top managers and top management in various departments, from engineering to manufacturing to quality to product development, and he developed action plans to assist these departments in areas where they were struggling, and they routinely reviewed these plans with each other, and like I said earlier, and you can see above, they did this on a weekly basis. Some companies do it monthly, some do it quarterly, but at Ford, in the situation they were in, they thought it was important to do it weekly. And if these departments performed well and problems were fixed and progress was made, they were appropriately rewarded. The last one that we'll be talking about as far as his leadership traits and styles would be that he changed the organizational structure and emphasized the importance of horizontal organizational design. And this means that employees all wore the same uniform, employees and managers were all treated equally and with respect, and as a result, he really just broke down the internal barriers that existed at Ford when he took over, so that he could have more of a team-centric focus on task and rather than an individual focus, so that the task could be completed in a much more time efficient and cost effective manner. So an example of him uh, showcasing his leadership traits and styles in a specific situation would be going back to one of his very first business plan review meetings, where he had recently implemented like a color-coded chart system for these managers to express progress. And there were three colors: red, yellow, and green. Green meant that there were no problems, everything was going great, and red meant that there was some pretty major issues going on. And so, at one of these very first meetings, all these charts were green. There were, none of these managers were showing that there were really any problems going on. And so he kind of posed the question of, are you sure everything is okay? We're losing over $10 billion, so clearly something's not right. And he was there to help them out. He wasn't there to try to get them in trouble. He was there to really help them out and turn the company around. And so shortly thereafter, one of the managers that he was meeting with finally came in with a chart that was full of red. And the example that Alan gives is this manager, it had to do with a launch of, I believe it was the Ford Edge up in Canada. And there was a problem with quality, and the problem was that there was a rattle on the lift gate. And so Ford didn't want to release these vehicles and ship these vehicles out yet because of the quality issue. And so when this manager came to him, he clapped and said thank you for calling out issues and saying, hey, I need help. Because as Alan put it, on one hand you know the problem, and on one hand now you can go fix the problem. And so that effect from that one manager, being upfront with this, eventually carried over and infected all the other managers. And so he said, from then on, those charts really just look like a rainbow. I mean, there was colors everywhere, and that just really helped them pinpoint, identify problems, and tackle those problems. And so, like I said, his desire to serve others led the other leaders to eventually show that they needed help. He devoted time and resources into fixing those issues, and when those problems did arise, they were quickly identified, fixed in a timely and cost-effective manner, and the managers and employees in these areas were appropriately rewarded for tackling these issues. And this is just a prime example of him utilizing management by objectives. So for personal leadership styles, one that I'm a very, very big advocate and practicer of is the horizontal organizational team design, because this methodology, it can be applied to something as small as a team working on a single project. It doesn't have to be organization wide. And as an engineering major, and having worked in engineering relies heavily, much more than people would think, on open communication within teams. Because if there is not communication there and there is no transparency between each other, then projects will not be completed very effectively, if at all. And so having a team design like this breaks down barriers between each other. There is no room for titles, and it allows for the best possible solution to be generated. Because if you take an individualized approach to engineering, and really any problem there is, you can typically get to a solution, but is it the right solution or is it the best solution? And the answers to both of those is typically no. And so having this design of this structural design really just focuses on trying to get the best solution and helping each other out. And that's something that I think is very, very important. One example would be at my co-op, I was in charge of testing some new machine components on one of our processes. And so my goal in the end was to save the company money, but I also had to maintain high quality parts. And so what I would do is I would meet with anyone from, in some instances, the plant manager to the head of quality to the floor worker and the supervisor and other engineers in my department who had been there for 20, 25 years. And I would meet with them and learn some of their experience and figure out things that they wanted this product to do, things that they didn't want it to do, and things to look out for. And so that really just helped me formulate some pretty good ideas and come up with a really well-rounded solution. Another personal leadership style that I really enjoy is utilizing SMART goals and management by objectives. And these are just detailed plans that can be created so that team members can complete tasks on time, and they keep the team on task, and they ensure that progress is continuously being made. An example of this would be with my senior design group. We do have a project manager and we do have a lead engineer. But despite those names and titles, all of us sit down together at least once a week for a few hours, and we kind of go over our plan and our progress, go over our progress reports. And on these progress reports, we divvy up tasks. We detail these tasks so they are rather specific. And these tasks can have one person working on them, or they can have a group of people working on them. And we set deadlines for these tasks. And typically the deadlines are by the next meeting. Some of the larger tasks are several weeks in advance, but that's typically how things go with that. And they really focuses on our team making sure that at the end of the day we can develop a product and do so in a timely manner. And these are some of the resources utilized in this presentation.